In the hallowed halls of university life, where wisdom and questionable decisions often collide, emerged the legendary Borg, a concoction that makes medical professionals cringe and partygoers cheer. Housed in a plastic jug with the potential for epic disaster. Picture this: vodka, flavor drink mix, and a dash of electrolytes, all dancing together like it's the weirdest chemistry class you've ever been to. In the world of Borgs, the party may be legendary, but so are the risks, a cautionary tale that even TikTok couldn't spin into a viral trend. Welcome to Capers and Cocktails, a true crime podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously and gives you something to enjoy while you listen. The following content may be disturbing to some. Discretion is advised. If you're enjoying one of our themed cocktails, ensure you're of legal drinking age and have fun, but drink responsibly. Today, the drink is center stage for our case. In 2018, Borgs made their debut at college parties in the United States. Borg is literally short for Blackout Rage Gallon, so I think you get the idea of what it's for and what we're in for. Through, as most things happen these days, video trends on TikTok, drinkers posted recipes and funny nicknames for their Borgs, making the drink skyrocket in popularity in the years that followed. In fact, the hashtag Borg, has over 82.5 million views on TikTok. There's probably more by now. Our cocktail Borg is a concoction of my own creation. I looked up some funny names for Borgs, and I think we're going with, I think they're Borg I am for this particular mix. For the mocktail version, we're going with, I think they're Borg I am not. Since both of these are going in my fridge for, in my elderly millennial case, months until I actually finish them, I think I'll need to be able to tell the difference. So I actually just realized I totally messed it up because I'm an old lady. And on my mocktail version, at least, I wrote, I think, therefore I Borg not, which actually makes more sense. Anyway, so to make the cocktail, we're going to take 2/3 of a gallon of water, a black cherry Mio, 1 packet of black cherry liquid IV, and 8 ounces of vanilla vodka or rum or whatever you have. I used rum. Mix all those things in your gallon and then write a clever name on the side of the gallon in Sharpie, and do not drink the whole thing at once. For the mocktail, which is a berry delight, we're going to take 1 packet of cherry liquid IV, a bunch of berry sparkling water, as many frozen berries as we can fit inside the jug, and an acai berry Mio, and put it all into the properly labeled gallon jug. Oh, just a pro tip, maybe do the liquid IV when you have less water inside the gallon, or you can watch on YouTube to see when I made a mistake that I could not correct. Yeah. You could just watch if you want to see what happened. It's pretty funny, at least. I don't know. It was a mess. Let's just say it was a mess. This mocktail Borg, I think, is probably fine to drink in one day, and you will likely be very hydrated at the end of it. Okay, so some college students, and I'm sure you're surprised, did not heed my advice to sip your Borg very slowly over the course of several nights. It is a Blackout Rage Gallon, after all. Evidently, some of the recipes even call for half of the Blackout Rage Gallon to be vodka. What? Half of it. One night. According to the director of the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, whose name is Dr. George F. Koob, quote, consuming this much alcohol would be fatal for the vast majority of people, even if it is spread out over a full day. It is unknown how many students actually follow Borg recipes that call for a half gallon of vodka, but doing so could be deadly, depending on how much they end up consuming, end quote. And that's not all. Some Borg recipes, including actually the one we've made today, have caffeine in them. Products like Mio can contain 1,000 milligrams or more of caffeine, which is the equivalent of 10 cups of coffee. So a lot of these kids are drinking a half a gallon of vodka and 10 cups of coffee. It's a caper, but it could turn deadly. So be careful out there, Borg drinkers. But there are actually some Borg benefits, for sure. Those of you who went to college in the early aughts, like me, may have been exposed to things like jungle juice, which are often made up straight in a sink or bathtub. Because it's usually drunk by one person and not shared, Borg prevents the jungle juice spread of grossness. Also, it's not made in a bathtub, so that's going to be less germy to begin with. We were gross in college. Also, people are making Borg themselves and putting a lid on it. So, less chance of anyone slipping something inside that you don't want to have inside of you. You also know exactly how much alcohol you've put into your Borg, which, well, you don't know when you've had a glass of jungle juice. But at the end of the day, you're drinking upwards of a half a gallon of alcohol in one night, and that is the recipe for a rough evening. Borg has been responsible for more than one rough night, but today's keeper involves a rough night for a lot of people. On the weekend of March 4th, 2023, there was a party raging at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. Ironic, perhaps, that UMass ranks as the #1 public university in Massachusetts, but doesn't even make the top 100 as far as party schools go. Evidently, however, for one weekend, they make an exception, and that is for the Blarney Blowout. The Blarney Blowout is an annual St. Patrick's Day event that is unsanctioned by the university, or any university in Amherst, actually. The event is traditionally held before March 12th and draws thousands of students to Amherst for an off-campus party. The event was actually organized to bring in money for bars in Amherst, which usually don't make much during spring break when college students go home. The pubs in Amherst were given permission to open early so that people could enjoy some Irish food and drink some booze before the students left for spring break. Apparently, however, in 2023, students were on a budget and decided to not only drink in the local pubs, but also to bring their own cleverly named Borgs. They brought Borgaritavilles. They brought SpongeBob SquarePantses. Some even brought beef bourguignons. Freshman Tess Mallow would say, quote, "Literally anybody and everybody was carrying a Borg around. It seems like that was the main attraction of Blarney," end quote. They may have had different names and different recipes, but one thing the Borgs had in common: avid drinkers of Borg. Hordes of them gathered outside in the snow, rage drinking the rage drink. Sophomore Eden Williams-Bergen would say, quote, "I got hit by a Borg flying in the air that I got hit by a Borg flying in the air that hit me on the head. I also saw other people get hit by them, and then they exploded on top of their head," end quote. Sounds like fun. Borgs were being thrown everywhere and chugged at a rapid pace. And suddenly, it was not pretty or funny. People were collapsing into the snow at an alarming rate. 911 was on speed dial at the moment. And the ambulances started coming, and they did not stop. 28 ambulances responded to this disaster. This was so many ambulances that they had to bring some in from neighboring towns and the regional EMS task force. The city of Amherst did not have enough personnel to handle the crisis. 46 students ended up having to be hospitalized from drinking their own Borgs. 46. All of them would be medically cleared throughout the weekend. The Amherst Fire Department would report that none of the cases of alcohol poisoning were life-threatening. I'm actually very surprised. And UMass police would say that just 2 people were arrested for underage drinking. And that's probably the most shocking fact of all. Only 2. 2 days after the event, a maintenance staff member for an apartment complex near the site of the Borg Incident said he'd picked up about 60-gallon containers after just 1 hour of cleaning. That's a lot of Borg. Incoming students to UMass were already required to take an alcohol education course before they started at the college, but that was not enough, apparently. As a result of the incident, the university and the town released a joint statement that said in part, quote, "UMass officials said this is the first time the university has observed notable use of Borgs. They will assess this weekend's developments and consider steps to improve alcohol education and intervention, and communicate with students and families," end quote. Since the incident, universities, including Boston University, have shared preemptive information with students about the dangers of Borg. One of the slides from the Boston University Post reads, quote, "You could also add no alcohol. Nobody will know," end quote. Not a bad idea. A mock Borg for everyone. Thanks for hanging out with me. Stay away from the Borg if your frontal cortex is not fully formed. Am I right? Eden, our wise UMass sophomore, would say, quote, "People need to just learn from their experiences. Nothing like the university can tell you to do," end quote. You're right, Eden. You're right. Just a little reminder that if you want the recipes for any of the drinks from the episode, including this week's very high-class cocktail, go to the description box. Look what I do for you. I entertain, I educate, I give you free recipes. All I ask is that you listen all the time, many times in a row, and force others to do the same. I'm easy. I'll see you next week. And remember, there are always alternatives to Borgs. Yeah, that's the whole outro.